Hey, everybody, and welcome in to Talking Tuscaloosa. Luke Robinson along with Jimmy Stein. As always, Jimmy, how are you today?
Terrible. I have a cold.
Well, you know what? Aren't you a
Take a
ray
minute.
of freaking sunshine? Hey,
No,
well, you
no, I'm
got
not.
tweet out that we're on
Oh, you
live,
want me
by the
to
way.
get on the Twitter?
Get on the Tweeterverse. The biggest news of the day, Jimmy, without a doubt, is
Uh-oh.
that Pringles has decided to come out with a Thanksgiving themed set of chips. And I've never been more disgusted in my life as a man who hates turkey.
You hate turkey?
I hate turkey. I hate cold cuts.
Interesting.
I don't like cold meats. I want my meat hot, Jimmy.
And I don't agree, but I can see it, if that makes sense. I mean, I can understand that.
Well, here's the thing. Turkey's disgusting. But I'll tell you, I found out recently that that Subway's chicken is like 80% turkey.
Really?
Which I was like, how is that the case? What did they go to turkey chicken swingers party? How does that happen?
And why so I guess, is that because turkey's cheaper than chicken? Is that why?
I mean, I guess. Why is turkey cheaper than chicken?
I
Chicken's
would think
everywhere.
chicken. And everything tastes like chicken.
Everything tastes like chicken.
They say that like rattlesnake tastes like chicken. So why don't I suppose they could just do rattlesnake meat and say it's chicken.
I mean, sure. I would actually feel better if they did it that way versus telling me they've got some turkey in that shit. I'm pissed off at
You know where you get ripped off by restaurants, and I know this has to be true. I don't have inside scoop here, but this has to be true. At nice restaurants, some fancy fish, it might say, "Ooh, tonight's special for $34 entree, the swordfish."
Or Chilean sea bass.
Yeah, and you know what it probably is? Some freaking,
It's crappie.
Run of the mill snapper or something. You know what I'm saying? I mean, that happens. That
Oh yeah,
fish are substituted for other fish because it takes one freaking hell of a connoisseur to tell the difference. As it relates to many fish. So that happens.
Oh,
I'm waiting. But that'd be a good. I would say it'd be a good lawsuit. It'd be a good class action suit. I don't think it would be a great lawsuit if you walk in and you order your Chilean sea bass. It ends up being a speckled trout, and you sue them. What are you going to sue them for? $20? Hey, my $30 dish really should have been 16. So I want my $14 back.
Well, also, what are you gonna do? Get it tested?
Exactly.
What kind of turd goes into a restaurant and gets something to test?
I'm gonna DNA this fish plate, sir.
Yeah,
you do, but you just know that happens.
What do you do?
That's gotta happen.
23andMe and see what happens. All right, so Jimmy, we
had a big win.
We beat LSU's ass.
We elected to kick ass.
We elected to kick ass. There's got to be a T-shirt with that on it already somewhere, and I want it badly.
I've seen on the Twitterverse, I've seen some buttons that there's some Tuscaloosa outfits are selling those buttons. So I would imagine that will be a hot item in these last 3 home games.
Oh man, yeah, it's it's funny because watching that game, and I've watched it a few times since, based on what we've done all year, I feel like watching it, I was disappointed in how things were going. But then when you look at the stats and you see what all we did, you're like, oh, we really shoved it up on in there pretty strong.
Yeah, it's like the score of 29-0 might not have been indicative of the ass kicking that took place.
We
kind of beat them worse than the score was, and the score at 29, it really should have been 30-0, but we botched another extra point.
Should have been 31-0. Didn't we botch 2?
Did we? I've lost track. How many have we missed? 17?
We've missed more than anybody in the country. There's no doubt. That is the price we're paying for greatness everywhere else is a total cluster screw in the kicking game. I mean, it wasn't. It's like, did you see that kick Nebraska had this past weekend, like the kickoff that went backwards?
It was shocking that wasn't us.
No, it blew me away. I was like, that had to be us. We had to be in Columbus, Ohio for that.
This is what I think. I'll be the only one on this island, but this is what I think it is. I think it is karma, but it's karma because Adam Griffith, when you break down stats, however you want to break them down, it's hard to argue that he is worse than like the 6th best kicker in Alabama school history. And our fans gave that guy hell. And a typical Alabama fan's summation of Adam Griffith was he sucks. But in fact, he didn't.
No,
he wasn't great. No, he wasn't great. He never kicked, I think, up to his recruiting hype. But to say all the people that insisted that he sucked, we're reaping that now. We're reaping that now. That's what I think cosmically. But we do suck right now. And someone asked the other night, like, can you imagine if the Clemson game comes down to a field goal we have to make to win or lose? My reaction was, what the hell if it comes down to an extra point we have to make? Forget a field goal. Oh, man. You think that's Chris Capps? Is that Chris Capps looking for you?
He's FaceTiming me. Luke's not home.
He moved to Bolivia.
Luke left. He's gone.
Luke joined the migrant caravan.
He's trying to get back in the country. He'll see you later. I don't know why I'm doing a female voice. Well, like a Hispanic female voice.
Yeah. The odds of any female ever answering her phone is 1,000,000 to 1.
So anyway, damn, what were you saying?
That Chris Capps was on the phone?
No, it was not.
No, about the kicker. The kicking's bad. It could come down to an extra point. Imagine we need an extra point to beat Clemson. Oh my God. That waiting to see if we'll make the extra point will be worse than waiting to see if Van Tiffen made the 57-yard kick against Auburn to win the game.
We've already seen. We've already tried to kick a field goal for the national championship. We've already tried that, and it was so abysmally shanked that Jean Van Tiffen had to come apart.
I knew, Papanastis, his numbers over the course of the year were actually pretty good. I mean, over the course of the year, he made a lot more kicks than he missed. But man, when he trotted out there for that kick, I mean, to quote John Candy in Planes, Trains, and Automobiles, I'd have had a better chance to play pickup sticks with my butt cheeks than that ball go through the uprights.
Oh my God, it is such a cluster screw, and it does take away from the moment a little bit too. I mean, you're like, sure. Oh God.
If he makes a kick, we never have Tuitt Smitty, which is the most famous play in the history of football.
No, that's true. That is so true, and it worked out great. And I mean but it didn't work out great on purpose.
No,
it was.
That wasn't how we drew it up. It wasn't how we drew it up, but I wasn't surprised when he missed at all. And some guy, I mean, again, I wonder how many times we've said this on the podcast, but one of the truest things in sports is there's a 4-foot putt and there's a 4-foot putt to win the Masters. And those are two entirely different things. Only people that really understand sports understand that. Those are two entirely different things. And Andy was a good case. He's actually a pretty good college kicker, but he was never going to make the 4-foot putt to win the Masters. And while that sounds like it's some sort of criticism, guess what, Papanastis? I wouldn't make it either.
Right.
Most people won't. That's just, you have to be a unique breed. Butch Worley, and I know a lot of people out there know Butch from Twitter. Former Alabama kicker is Van Tiffen's backup as barefoot on most of the boards because he was our last barefoot kicker. And of course, I get a lot of kicking information from Butch, who's truly an expert on the subject. But Butch told me once, and it makes so much sense. He's like, you know what Alabama needs? It's not so much we need a talented kicker. What we've been missing, and maybe what Adam wasn't this guy either, and I'll buy that criticism. We need the kicker that wants to kick the ball at the end of the game.
Yeah.
And Butch is saying that that's very rare And I understand that because it's kind of like the basketball player that wants to take the last shot, or the baseball player that wants to be up in the bottom of the ninth with 2 outs and the bases loaded. That you want the guy that wants to be in that spot, the pick me guy. Let me do it. Let me do it. That's the kicker you need. And that's far more of a mentality than a great swing of your leg. It's the mentality. It's the, oh, hell yeah, give me the chance to win the game because I'm going to win it.
Right.
That's what we've been missing at kicker. And if we're going to change recruiting a little bit, that's where I would change it. I mean, in terms of we need to maybe pay a little more attention to the psychological side and find that kicker assassin, that guy that like, oh yeah, give me the shot. I want to be on the field with the national championship on the line.
Hey, is barefoot kicking illegal now? Or did everybody just realize how stupid it was?
I think everybody realized how stupid it was because, I mean, can you imagine? Would that hurt like a freaking mofo?
In Minnesota? I mean, the first time he tries an extra point, his toes fall off in November.
It's not a Nerf football either. It's like kicking a brick. Who wants to kick a brick in their barefoot?
It really was. It was dumb back when everybody was doing it.
What's the science behind it? What's the science behind, your toes will manipulate the leather in a way that makes the ball fly more accurate? That's the dumbest thing I've heard.
Nice catch of your own F-bomb there. I like it.
I did. I stopped halfway through. I stopped
you said
at pho.
Yeah.
Did I say it? I thought I stopped at pho.
Lawrence,
I mean, I'm not astounded. I'm not astounded by. Now, here's what we ought to do. As a matter of fact, I'm going to tweet him. Let's tweet him because Butch knows of the show, but I don't think he's a weekly listener. I mean, how many of them are? But I think I'm going to tweet at Butch when the show's over. Say, hey, we talked about you, pal, and listen to the show, and then if we can make the mice run around the wheels fast enough, we'll figure out the technology, and then we'll get Butch Worley himself on the show to explain barefoot kicking to everybody.
That's not a bad idea.
Yeah, we can do it. I bet Butch will do it.
Oh yeah,
he's a good dude. Butch is a SEC star. How about this? Not a lot of people know this, but do you remember watching? Did you watch SEC Nation from Knoxville? Which SEC Nation was up in Knoxville. Well, I guess it was for Alabama, Tennessee. Yeah. When we played Tennessee a few weeks ago, SEC Nation was in Knoxville. Did you see any of that? Do you recall watching it? Okay. Well, they did a big story on SEC Nation about these Tennessee fans and Alabama fans were kind of mixed in, and they started out on a boat like somewhere in Alabama near the Black Warrior River, and they got on this party barge and they traveled to the game through the river system, arriving at Neyland on the river, on the Tennessee River, to be part of the Vol Navy. And Butch was on that boat. So
really, he was on a boat.
He was on a boat. And Lauren Sisler, the sideline girl for SEC Nation, she was interviewing guys on the boat, and I'm like, that's Butch.
Well, I'll tell you, man.
There you go.
God, that Lauren Sisler she's a good-looking woman.
Sure.
I mean, how about backing me up? I mean, I threw you the softball I can throw you.
You surprised me.
I surprised you by saying Lauren is good-looking?
I mean, I was just surprised that you mentioned it. I'm not going to disagree.
Oh, yeah, because it had never crossed your mind. You know what?
I'm not going to disagree.
She is. You're like George Costanza when he was trying to convince his African American boss that he had some black friends. You know what? Now that you mention it, he is black. I mean, I've never noticed Lauren's good looking. All right, so let's talk about some positives. I'm sick of the kicking game.
Laura Rutledge is good looking. She does a great job. She's very good.
Maybe I'm thinking of Laura Rutledge. But Lauren Sisler is good looking too. Sizzler or
she
Sisler?
Is. I think it's Sisler.
I think it's Sisler. If it's Sizzler, man, what an incredible name. I mean,
that is good.
Lauren Sisler.
Yeah, that sounds like a porn star.
It does. Sounds just like a stripper. But anyway,
we talk about that every week on the show for some reason.
Every week comes around to Pringles and stripping.
Our show every week is an assassination of kickers and the propping up of the porn industry.
Okay, so some positives out of it. You know what?
Oh, yeah.
It's so funny. I do a show with a bunch of with some Auburn fans and at Sports Blitz Live, and one of them was talking this week about how Tua actually looked human this week. And I was thinking, did you see his stats? I was like, I guess he's human, but he's only human by Tua standards. I mean, 295, 2 touchdowns, and a 44-yard rushing touchdown, and he had 1 pick. If any Alabama quarterback, if Jalen Hurts had that at any time last year, he would have gotten SEC Player of the Week.
Yeah, Tua's worst performances are still worthy of first-team All-SEC. I mean, his worst performances are good enough to be first-team All-SEC. And it happened again. I'm glad you mentioned Jalen, because here's one thought. It was kind of a soapbox issue for me a year ago. Tua's numbers went down this week, and they were down. And as you pointed out, they're still spectacular and worthy of all conference recognition or SEC Player of the Week recognition even. But his numbers were down. And my explanation for it, besides the knee, and clearly he's still a little gimped up, but my explanation for it is the competition. That was the best defense he had faced all year long. It only makes sense to me that when you play the best defense you've played all year long, it's going to affect your numbers. LSU's very good, and they're going to have their moments no matter how good your quarterback is. And I remember 1 year ago, Jalen has a so-so or subpar game against LSU, and all we read about is he's regressed. He's not getting any better. He can't beat the good teams. Well, no shit. It's a good team. It's a good team. And that's exact explanation for why didn't Tua throw for 420 yards? Why wasn't he 24 out of 24 for 430 yards like he always is? Because LSU's really good. And when you play somebody that's really good, your numbers go down. And that's all it is. Now I'm not comparing, like I've said before, it's not even fair to Jalen to compare Tua to him. It's like comparing, literally. I mean, Tua's going to be the first pick in the draft, and Jalen will be very fortunate to make it out of an NFL camp. And Tua's going to be the first pick. So it's not like it's a fair comparison. But I'm saying when you play against a really good defense, your numbers will go down. Jalen's numbers went down to the point that he was just flat out ineffective. Tua's numbers went from otherworldly to first team All-SEC.
Right. Yep. And again, you and I have always said this. This goes for individuals and teams. You play your best once or twice a year, your worst once or twice a year, and what you are in between is what you are. And I think Tua had maybe his worst game per se. And if that's his worst game, then oh my God.
Exactly. I couldn't agree more. And that's exactly right. What you are is what you are in the middle. And I had somebody tell me, I'm not switching to basketball because I know we need to talk about basketball because the win a couple nights ago, but had somebody on some board it must have been 2 years ago because he didn't play, but somebody said Riley Norris had a good game and he scored like 17 points and had 10 boards, and it was like a career game for him. And someone on one of the message boards posts, it's so frustrating when Riley does that. Why can't he do that every night? Why can't we get that every night from him? Because then he would be a first-team All-American, and Riley's not a first-team All-American. He's just an average player in this league. Right. That's why it doesn't happen every single night. Because if you produce at that level every single night, you're a freaking first-round pick. You're an all-conference guy, and then the greats do it time and time and time again. But you got to be a great to do that. Obviously, he's one of the greats. Because he does it every week. And even though LSU's defense is tough, how many quarterbacks? I mean, look around the nation, Luke. I mean, it's a pretty decent quarterback class out there. I wonder how Ryan Finley from North Carolina State would do against LSU and Baton Rouge. How would Justin Herbert do? How would Kyler Murray do? How would Will Grier do? These are very good college quarterbacks. I'm telling you, playing at LSU defense in Baton Rouge when they're amped up playing their A game, that's some tough sledding. And Tua did it on a gimpy knee, and still overall was pretty great.
That crowd was all lathered up.
It was the noise definitely affected us. Heck, we obviously moved to a silent count. No, it was noisy on my TV. When I turned the volume up, it would get louder.
You're like, oh my God.
I'm like, it is so loud. And then finally, after 3 quarters, I'm like, will somebody turn the TV down?
What'd you do? You hit mute when we had the ball. You're like, this will give him.
Everybody be quiet. Everybody be quiet.
So I'll tell you one thing so Tua did his thing, and I think he's going to have a pretty good game this week too, obviously, and I think he'll have maybe even some better numbers. I thought Damian Harris had a nice game. Najee Harris had a nice game. I mean, that's the thing is like people sort of dog our running game, but it's only because we don't have an individual doing this stuff. We're running fine.
Hey, I texted you this earlier today because I was blown away when I read it. At first, I was like, that can't be right. So I looked it up. It's true. Like I would need to look it up. But Alabama is averaging more yards rushing per game than we did in 2009 or 2015. And in both of those years, we had running backs win the Heisman Trophy.
That's crazy.
We're averaging more rushing yards a game with this team. And heck, nobody's getting the ball enough to win a Heisman. I mean, Najee Harris has more carries than any back on the team, which would shock people, I think, based on how we've perceived our backs to be this season. But boy, how unfortunate Najee having his best game and then, of course, gets dinged. He was dinged.
It looked like he may have been dinged on purpose by a defender.
By the referees. I was so upset about the officiating. So unlike me, I hate being that guy. As a matter of fact, I like to mock Stan White and Rob Bramlett on the Auburn.
Oh God, they're terrible.
Because all they do is complain about the officials, and I mock them for it. And then here I am complaining about the officials in an Alabama game, and I hate being that guy because I'm the opposite of a conspiracy theorist, particularly when it comes to officiating. But gosh, I was very, very frustrated Saturday during the game over their obvious targeting that was not ruled targeting, and we all know why, because they weren't going to eliminate two LSU stars.
And targeting. That was so much worse than what Devin White did.
It was worse than what Devin White did. It wasn't even close. And then that pass interference call, I think it was against Savion Smith on a ball that went out of bounds by 8 yards.
Clearly uncatchable.
When CBS showed the replay, the ball wasn't even in the frame. And somehow that's passed. I got so mad. And then as the game progressed and LSU sort of gave up, they were bear hugging our guys on those holds right at the quarterback, right in front of God and everyone, and no calls, not one. And God, I was so frustrated, even though we were winning the game, 30-0. I'm sure I took out my frustrations on the Twitter, and I had a few LSU people tell me to go to hell. We won the game 30-0, just shut up complaining. But I mean, it's not. I mean, even in a baseball game, when you're winning 10-0, it's no fun when the umpire is squeezing your guys on the mound and calling the strike zone different for your team from the other team. I mean, very frustrating.
Depends on what the squeezing umpire looks like.
You don't want to squeeze an umpire. They get so mad.
Speaking of conspiracy theories, James Carville's withered ass got up on game day, which, by the way, I blame game day for having him on there. What the hell did they think he was going to do? And it was funny because when I saw him, I immediately thought of Mason Vercher from the Hannibal movie. And so I tweeted out and said, James Carville takes the stage. And literally, I mean, out of the woodwork, some big time liberals were like, you son of a bitch. I can't wait to see when you get old. I'm like, y'all know this isn't a real person, right? And I was like, first of all, it's about football. Where did you even come from? You're not following your shit.
Well, I obviously tweet nonstop, but I get the most crazy responses from people that don't follow me, and it boggles my mind how my tweet made its way around the world for this person to read it and then have an epileptic seizure when they don't even really know what I'm talking about, because very few of my tweets are serious unless I'm tweeting football facts or football opinions. The jokes are all, jokes.
Yeah, I mean, somebody said, I can't wait to see when you get old and your teeth fall out. I'm like, I'll look like that if somebody eats my face, I guess, like Mason Vercher's face. But otherwise, I think I might be better looking than that eventually.
Carville's opinion is, and what he's been espousing all week and what Game Day gave him a platform for, it's really insane. I mean, it's really insane. And I agree with you. It was Game Day's fault, not Carville's fault. And what I mean by not Carville's fault, we knew exactly what he was going to say. He said exactly what they were expecting him to say. he did this shtick, and I would say it's a shtick, but I think he's half serious. He's half serious, but no, there's no conspiracy theory, and why there's not is very simple. It's very simple. Luke, what sport do you watch casually, but you don't watch intensely? The NFL or NBA?
I'd say NBA, yeah.
Okay, so you watch the NBA casually, right? What if you found out? What if you found out that it was a fact, not dark wing conspiracy stuff? What if you found out it was a fact that the NBA office fixed the outcomes of games? Would you ever watch the NBA again?
No.
Because why would you watch if you know it's fixed?
Exactly.
And that's why there's not conspiracies to fix stuff, because it's the death of the sport when it gets out. The sport is over. You have killed the sport if it ever gets out. No one is that stupid. No one is that crooked. And the conspiracy, by the way, would be vast if that ever. So the SEC office is not fixing games in favor of Alabama, because it would be the end of the Southeastern Conference if that was the case. You can't have cheating on that magnitude, or people will lose interest in the sport. It turns into professional wrestling. No one would watch football or baseball or basketball if the outcomes were predetermined. No one would watch.
Well, here's the other thing about the Devin White hit. Do you know how much would have to go into that? They'd have to say, okay, in the fourth quarter with about 3 minutes left, if Devin White makes a close enough hit where we think it's targeting, you better call it targeting so he's kicked out. I mean, you have to choreograph all this shit all the way to the top.
That's so true. And I bet what happened, just guessing referees like I know them and the officials and, in the replay, but the guy that screwed it up is a guy on the field. He called it, and he shouldn't have. He should have kept his flag in his pocket.
But he's taught to do it, though, by the way.
Yeah, I think on close calls they do. On close calls, I think they do, but the replay guy looked at it and was like, he's probably got a checklist up there. And he's like, okay, did he lower the crown and strike with the crown? No, he didn't do that. But he found that per the letter of the rule, he was targeting. It was a targeting per the letter of the rule, so we can't overturn it, when I bet he wanted to overturn it so bad it was killing him. It's like, we need to overturn this. This is terrible. This shouldn't have been called. But now that it was called, I have to admit, per the rule, this is targeting. And I got to uphold it.
Well,
that's how I feel, like it probably went, And
anyway, going back to Greedy Williams, his was definitely more egregious than Devin White's. But that's fine. I'm glad he didn't get kicked out now that we've won, so that, they can't bitch about that too. But I'll tell you, Quinnen Williams, I don't know how much money he's going to make in this draft, but he's going to make all of it.
Yep, he's going to make Dr. Evil money. I saw a mock this week, Luke, that had Q number 2 behind Bosa.
And Zoom, by the way.
To Nick Bosa. Nick Bosa was number 1, and Q was number 2.
No, I mean, to which team?
I don't remember. Whoever would be picking second, and I guess right now picking second would be like the Giants or the Raiders.
Oh, God. Not another Bama to a Raider.
God, the Raiders are shit. Raiders are a shit show, but it's a tear down rebuild. I went through this as a big Braves fan, and God, the Braves fans were awful during the tear down rebuild. It's like they didn't understand what the organization was trying to do, and they bitched their way through. Now that the tear down rebuild is complete and the Braves are going to be really good for the next decade, everybody's on board now. And I'm like, all you people were freaking out when they were building this, and now you're acting like you didn't jump off the bandwagon. Well, the Raiders are about to do the same thing. They're going to be really, really bad this year and next year and probably the year after, where you'll have to judge this as in about year 4. And about year 4, if they are what the Rams are, because the Rams basically did this, and look where the Rams are, then it will be a success. But if you're judging the Raiders week to week right now in performance, you're wasting your brain. They're not trying to win. They're trying to accumulate picks and cap space so they can build a winner. Sometimes you inherit a situation. I guess Gruden inherited the Raiders and felt, the situation here is untenable. We have to literally dynamite this and start over. And the way you do that is accumulate draft picks.
Did you just start the Thriller album? What was that?
That was actually the front door. How about that?
Vincent Price is coming in there. Jimmy, get the hell out.
It's that. It's James Carville. Run. Carville does look. You know who he looks like? He looks like the Tales from the Crypt guy.
He does. He looks like the ghost of Christmas past, like way the hell past. Like
well, that was my personal assistant informing me that my client is here. So
you need to go.
Let's wrap this puppy up.
We'll wrap it up. Give me your prediction.
Closest game of the year.
We broke down the Mississippi State game so well.
We did. It was a lot of analysis.
We hadn't even said Mississippi State till right now.
Which is one of the reasons exactly why I think this is going to be a close game Saturday, because I predict a very flat Alabama team, a very beat up, dinged up Alabama team wins, but plays in its closest game of the year. It will not come down to the fourth quarter because it won't be that close, but I'm going 31-14, but kind of a 24-14 game going in the fourth quarter.
42-9, and I'm not taking anything less. They miss an extra point. How about that?
You'd be great on The Price is Right.
I like the Yodel game. All right. All right. Roll Tide, everybody.
Hey, next week we'll have our most exciting episode ever, the Citadel, and we'll try to get a barefoot kicker on next week. Let's see if Butch can do it.
God, that would be so badass. Barefoot kicker week.
Barefoot kicker week.
Citadel time.
All right. We'll text it Butch Worley. All right.
Bye.
Roll Tide.
Roll Tide.